Hello, good afternoon and welcome. My name is Nick Johnson from the Health and Safety Executive. I'm going to be talking to you for the next 25-30 minutes or so regarding work at height and falls from height. Some of the issues that I'm going to be looking at is the scale of the issue and the risk, the impact a fall from height can have, incident trends with some of the provisional stats from 2009 and 10, some of the common factors and control measures that you can put in place, and some of the work that HSE is taking forward to address this area of safety. I think it's fair to say that the landscape has changed across how public services are delivered in the public sector. I think that brings with it some new and innovative ways of working in partnership with industry, and that's something which HSE is developing out every day and taking forward, and that includes some of the work that we do with the Access Industry Forum and its members. As you're probably aware, Lord Young has published his report, Common Sense, Common Safety, and we have provision in place to take forward the recommendations from that report. That includes the setting up of the Health and Safety Consultants Register recently, OSHCA, which you can see on our website, which we developed again in partnership with some of our stakeholders like IOSH. Overall, there's been a decline in falls from height over a period of years, despite the fact that last year slips and trips on stairs, which are the initial agent to a fall, have been recoded as falls from height. So they've affected the figures upwards, but that still doesn't detract from the case that there is a general decline across the board anyway. Stairs are involved in over 40% of all falls, mainly major injuries and over 3 days. As they cause a fall from height, totals go up. Looking at some of the figures over a period of years for workers, and when we say workers, we mean the employed and the self-employed as well. 2004-2005, there were 5,390 major injuries caused by a fall from height. That went down slightly to just over 5,000 in 2009-10. We go back to 04-05, we consider the number of over 3-day injuries, which causes the worker to be obviously away from the workplace for 3 days or more. They've gone down from 8,634 to 7,500. I would say, however, that falls from height remain the biggest single cause of fatal and serious injury in the construction industry. But I don't think that's a great surprise to anybody. The work at height regulations came out in 2005, and 12 months ago or more, HSE was involved in a select committee review of the work at height regulations, along with a number of trade and industry bodies, where we looked at the impact the regulations had made to industry, how they were being perceived, and whether they'd actually caused any great effect or change and decline in the number of injuries being caused. A number of key factors came out of that, and a lot of it was to do with the perception of work at height. Increasingly, height isn't taken to be someone 4, 5, 6 meters up on a building, on a scaffold. It can be, someone on a chair, someone working in and around a motor vehicle repair pit, where there's a danger that they can fall into the pit. That's also work at height. And it's interesting that 2/3 of all major injuries are caused by something called a low fall. And a low fall is something from approximately 10 foot or less, so just over head height. And if we refer back to what we heard earlier today with Jason, his fall is a demonstration of how that can affect someone. Industry, I think it's fair to say, has taken ownership of work at height as a topic and a subject. And there's a lot of good work and advice and guidance being developed through the Construction Industry Advisory Committee, of which AIF is a part of that, and so is HSE. Access equipment, there's more consideration as to using the right access equipment for the right job. There's more knowledge out there, there's more guidance. And it's also, I think, about sensible risk management, about using common sense. There's still that myth, unfortunately, that HSE has banned ladders. That's an absolute nonsense. We've never said anything like that. What we wanted to do is encourage people to consider risk and to use the right access equipment appropriately. And if that is indeed a ladder, use a ladder correctly for short duration work. If you can have a look at the photograph there, there's a web link underneath that to a piece on our website in the press release. That was actually taken by an inspector at a factory when he turned up in Leicester in 2009. And you can clearly see that there are 3 workers there working without fall arrest protection, without edge protection, at a height of approximately 7 metres, which they'd accessed from the front of the building from a tower lift, and we're also using a single ladder as well. That photograph was later used in evidence in court, where the company were fined £10,000 for a breach of Section 3 of the Health and Safety at Work Act 1974, with a further fine of £4,777 costs on top of that. The court heard that the firm employed contractors to install new guttering on its 7-metre high building. An HSE inspector who brought the case said, "This case shows that it's not only the responsibility of the contracting company to ensure the safety of its workforce, but also that of its client." If we look at some of the figures there for different industries, 2009-10, you see the top 3 there for falls from height. Construction, as I said before, accounted for 13% of all overall injuries that were reported at 1,524. The retail trade came second, and when we talk about the retail trade, we're talking about people working in the back office, shelf stacking, all of the logistical support to the frontline retail. And land transport, again, remains a big issue. This is about people climbing up on trailers, up on tractor units. Work-based transport accounts for over 1,000 major injuries every year. We look at some of the common agents. I mentioned earlier about the recoding of slips and trips on stairs being a fall from height, and that's obviously affected the figures. So when we consider the actual agent for the fall, 46%, nearly half of all falls from heights are on stairs or steps. Coming in at second there, 12% is movable ladders, and furniture, believe it or not, is also a common agent for a fall. When we did the Shattered Lives campaign, which I'm sure some of you are aware of, one of the sectors that we dealt with was education. And if you drill down and look into the actual figures, the number of people working in education, i.e. teachers, that suffer a major or an over 3-day injury because they use the wrong access equipment. In other words, they're standing on a chair or a desk or a table to put a picture up on the wall or something like that. It's a huge issue and a major concern for us. So let's look at and consider some of the common factors with falls from height. Planning. People still don't carry out a thorough risk assessment and consider all of the factors involved, such as the height of the work, the duration of the job, what type of tools and what type of equipment they're going to be using. Supervision. Still, it's an issue. Untrained people being left to get on with the job in hand. This is a concern for HSE, and it's a concern for our partners at the AIF. Selection. People are still using the wrong access equipment for the job, as you can see from the photograph we saw earlier, where people are clambering across 7-metre high roofs, accessed via a cherry picker and a stand-up ladder. Equipment safety. Access equipment not properly checked and tested can fail. Competence. People understanding the work at height regulations and undertaking work at height without the proper training. Fragile roofs. There is very strong evidence that a large number of falls are caused by people who are going up onto industrial type warehouses, agricultural buildings, where they don't consider that the actual roof will bear their weight and they fall through. Lone workers are also an issue to us. We altogether too sadly hear of cases where the injured party in an accident may have survived had they received prompt medical attention. We look at some of the control measures to put in place, and here we're really talking about Regulation 6 of the Working at Height regulations, which is at the heart, and it's the hierarchy of control. The idea of the hierarchy of control is to provoke the duty holder to ask themselves a set of questions, if you like, as part of the risk management process. First of all, can they avoid the need to work at height? In other words, if you could imagine an industrial window cleaner using a long pole-fed water system, therefore negating the need to work at height. Can they prevent a fall by collective measures such as guardrails, edge protection, airbags? Or can they minimise the distance or the consequence of a fall should one occur? In other words, utilising collective cradles, nets, airbags and personal fall arrest equipment. I think one of the main control measures is using common sense and knowledge of the work site and ensuring that you're competent to do the work, or that you're supervised by somebody who is trained and fully competent. Let's go back there. I don't know whether you're aware, HSE developed an online tool to assist people, and this is aimed at the occasional user of work at height equipment. It's called WAIT, which is the Work at Height Access and Information Toolkit. It consists of some good, solid, robust guidance and advice, and a series of drop-down menus which you input the value of the job that you do. In other words, how high are you working, how long will the job take, do you need to move the equipment at different points during the job, etc. Once you fill in all of the information, it will give you a suggested range of appropriate access equipment to use. This is a free online resource, a free tool, and is an excellent addition to any risk management process before you undertake work. Again, it's aimed at the occasional user of access equipment and not the specialised access equipment you can see outside, which is you can get some guidance from people like PASMA, IRATA and IPAF, etc. I know our colleague from the Ladder Association earlier mentioned the Ladder Exchange, which is the annual initiative from HSE, basically designed as a simple way to trade in broken and unsafe ladders for new ones. It launches every year. This year, on the 1st of September to the 30th of November, we have 18 HSE partners on board. If you go on the Ladder Exchange website, you can see who they are, people like Travis Perkins and others, Speedy Hire. We've got support from the majority of local authorities in the UK, and to date, over 8,000 unsafe ladders have been decommissioned and taken out of circulation. There's some useful information, some web links. We've got the Falls from Height web pages, the Ladder Exchange, and the Work at Height Access and Information Toolkit. Now, I'm not sure how long we've got left, but I'm more than happy to take any questions from members of the audience. I think we may have a roving mic, possibly. So.
Hello. What would you class as short duration, time-wise?
Short duration is anything 30 minutes or below, really, when you think about it, and that's from the erection of the access equipment to the completion of the task you were trying to undertake.
Yeah, you were saying the falls from height now includes stairs and trips and slips on stairs. If I remember rightly, RIDDOR, one of the reporting criteria for RIDDOR is a fall from height. Does that mean any slip or trip on a stair is now RIDDOR reportable?
No, any slip or trip on the stairs is now recorded as a fall from height or a fall from height.
But would that mean it needs to be reported under the RIDDOR regulations?
Well, if it's a major injury or over 3 days, yes.
No, okay, fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Gentleman at the front, I think. I'm more than happy to email out a copy of the presentation to anybody who wants one, or we can get one organised by the AIF, if that's okay. I've got some business cards available also at the front here if anybody wants to take one away. If you've got any specific questions you want to ask me or email me, I'm more than happy to do that. Well, it only remains for me to say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to me, and thank you for your time today. Thank you.